Hey guys, so I want to talk about Alaska. Alaska. We had that 7.3 earthquake on July 16th around the southern bend in or around the peninsula. And I find it quite interesting because, well, when we are dabbing at things, I found that this card wanted to come out, right? So rip off the Band-Aid. At the time, I could not correlate or put the cards together like, well, I don't know what that means. It could be anything. Usually ripping off a Band-Aid means old wounds that are not completely fully healed. And that could also be in terms of not just people, places, or things, but actual weather events. So you have a volcano, say it erupts, and then 100 years later it erupts again. It's because it released 100 years prior, and now it needs to release again. Okay, because it's building up. It's the scab is coming off again. So that's kind of what I'm feeling here in regards to Alaska. Then we have the domino effect, which really pulled me into looking at these earthquakes. Domino effect, we have earthquake. And then down here we have the floods, which brings in tsunami. And then we have the fires, which could be volcano or just wildfires. But most likely if it's connected to an earthquake, unless a building explodes, I'm looking at the natural events and how they rotate. And that's what I'm seeing here for Alaska. And what that means is that I don't believe that the earthquakes are done there. I see either a major aftershock or another earthquake. Okay, another one that could be even worse, that may be more inland, that could really bring in detrimental, it could bring in a tsunami, it could take lives. But I am seeing another quake in Alaska, in that same region. And it could really go right, left, northwest, east, south, because the magnetic field, and they're shifting. So it could go either way. It could really go either way. So I do see another earthquake, and it could trigger a tsunami. We have the tower. So again, buildings coming down, shake, shake, shake. The tower is built on soil, on earth. So, what happens when an earthquake takes place? The building collapses. So that's what I'm getting here. I also am channeling in from Sunday to Sunday. I have down other countries as well. When I look at these, I'm getting Japan, and I mentioned that prior. And I'm getting Iceland. But primarily the main two that are really I'm focusing on is Alaska, number one, and then Japan. So from Sunday, the 20th through Sunday, the 27th is probable. Okay, it's probable. Iceland, there could be another new area of interest that could open up a new front with an earthquake there, or volcano, I should say volcano with that one, volcano. But Japan, Alaska, it would be earthquake, and then a domino effect would follow, unfortunately. Ripping off the Band-Aid is releasing the old that's been healed, but the scab has come off and it needs to release again. And that's what I'm seeing with Alaska. All right, guys, sorry I had to take that call. So we're back. The next card we have is weather weaponization. All right. So let's pull a few cards with that one and see what we get. Powerful leader, charming. King of Wands. I get a leader. Okay. I get a global activist on this card. Okay. I won't say leader. I won't go there. And this particular king feels to be over in Europe, and he's a globalist. That's what I feel on that card. Someone who's charming. I have an idea, but it's alleged. Okay. Weather weaponization. Learning to collab, reward. If you join us, the king says, if you join us regarding this topic, you will be compensated in some way, is how I'm getting that. You will be compensated. So this could be smaller political figures who have a lot of dominance in smaller countries, is what I'm getting here. Perhaps they live off of islands near water, warm water. Correct? Most likely, yes, but there is a problem. There's a decision, and there's no finding balance with that, because if the smaller political figures connected to the globalist do this, it affects their country, their family. So is the reward even worth it? The king says it is. And you know it's really weird, even though we're talking about Europe, there's globalists all over. We have them right here in the US. I keep thinking of Texas, you know, the Texas floods, where all those beautiful young souls lost their lives. Now, I'm not saying that that's what happened, but that's kind of where my gut could go, because we've never seen anything like that before. So we have the Wheel of Fortune. So this is a karmic life cycle, okay? Everything is karmic. It just comes back in different forms. Unfortunately, not always good. I'm getting dirty old globalists looking to manipulate their growing power, because again, 2027 is a whole new in itself. They're trying to use strategic attempts on weather weaponization, because in 2027, there may be a time and place to use it at full capacity. Is that right? Ooh, we have the sun in upright. There could be intervention stopping it, but the sun is looking down. The sun is all about warming up the oceans, you know. Weather weaponization. What else do we need to know about that? To bring in prayers, compassion, and be patient. These globalists that have been working behind the scenes for ages. Now I'm being shown the tall whites, okay? Like alien portal intervention to block these storms that are here to weaponize. And this will be used throughout the global stats, but I see the United States, right, as a potential target. And you know what creeps me out? Okay, it doesn't creep me out. Okay. We had China. Well, we had China at the very bottom, right? When I start the video, remember I showed you China? Okay. Does China have anything to do with this? And are they going to be targeting? Okay, let me watch how I rephrase that. Let me rephrase that. Why is China showing up at the bottom of the deck that I wrote? Because we have the King of Swords, someone in power over there. They don't always use the best judgment. They're very strategic, but they are hot-headed. They know how to use their structure and power, but they can also be very dominated by another country. So you think of countries around China could be dominated. So we have this weather weaponization. And right now we're being tested on. We're like test tubes all over the world, especially in warmer climates. And same goes with, eventually they'd like to do ground penetration. And I think that that's already been done over in Turkey. I spoke on that, I think it's on my old channel, where I felt like there was weather, it's not weather, but natural disaster, but they were using penetration like sonic lighting to penetrate underneath certain areas to cause the rock in the whatever type of soil it would be underneath a certain region. So in Turkey, it's mostly sand, and I want to say it's adobe. Like where I live, limestone. And I'm not sure about Turkey, but I feel like it was done when they had all those big earthquakes. It was to kind of throw Erdogan out of power and to make him look bad before the elections. It kind of worked, right? Yeah, look at that. Moving forward with the plan. The determination, the willpower. But again, I see intervention with the higher beings. I see intervention where this could be stopped. And then we're going to stop here. Look at this. Moving on to calmer waters. It's all about traveling. There's relief and guidance here, but we need to pray about these things, and they can always come off the timeline. I'm going to go ahead and end this here. I was just going to do the basics after we talked about the earthquakes, but then we got into this and started channeling things. So yeah, I think everything will be okay, but, and I see this further out, by the way. I see this like in late 2026, or 2027. And it's really weird because I kept feeling something with Trump, the end of summer of 2027, or even fall, I don't know a precise timeline. So this could be something around the time that he either survives or he doesn't survive. Okay, I'm going to just say it like that. There could be something with weather. You could say manipulation, but it's weaponization, really. And it could be to hurt or cause some damage, all right, that would cause a lot of problems. It would cause us to have food shortages. It could cause us not to have power. It could knock out the power grids, and gas. So yeah, there's a lot of things at play here, but I see that possibly taking place and possible intervention with the higher beings. The tall whites come in. All right. Thank you guys for watching.